All right. Well, thanks for joining us for another Friday career chat. Fun Fridays from the field. That's a tongue twister. Today we have Derek with us, and I'm going to turn it over to Derek and have him tell us about what he does, how long he's been doing what he does, and maybe if he's had any other jobs. Derek? Oh, you're muted, Derek.
Forgot I turned it off. Good morning. I'm Derek Duehr, and I am a business rep for the Carpenters Union in Dubuque, Iowa. I have been a carpenter for 20 years. I was out in the field for 18. Now I'm more in a office role of getting out there, doing job career fairs, recruitment, bringing students into the trades, exposing them to this great career there is. So I didn't take any. Do you want me to just give my story or go ahead? Okay.
Why don't you a little bit? Yeah, I think that's interesting to know how you got to where you are, Derek.
So I was looking for summer help when I was after my senior year, and my brother is a union operator. He has been for years, and he said, you need to go down and talk to the laborers local in town, and they can put you on as summer help. So I went to work for a small concrete company just for a summer, because I did attend a year at the University of Iowa, but I realized that I could be out in the field making money, working with my hands, and I enjoyed that versus sitting in a classroom and paying a lot of money for that experience. So that's kind of how I got here, and had 20 or 18 years out in the field and loved what I did. So
that's a great story of how you really found your passion and were able to take that and turn it into your career after realizing what wasn't right for you. So we're doing these in a variety of areas so students can kind of think, maybe I want to explore that. So we're appreciative to everyone who's tuning in today to start thinking about those future plans. So we're going to dive into the questions we have today. So if anyone that's on is doing the worksheet, we're going to dive into some of those questions. And the first question is, describe for us the working environment for this career. And I'm guessing there might be a variety of environments. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
It is a variety. You could be outside you could be starting on a project that was an empty lot, and you could be putting the concrete in for the foundation. So you're outside doing that, and then you could turn around and be on the next phase of it. It's similar to house building as well. So house building or commercial construction. We do mostly commercial construction, but same principle. So you put the foundation in. We have carpenters out there that put the foundation in, pour the concrete and everything. Then the carpenters turn around and they actually build the structure. A lot of times it's wood, or else we use metal studs. That is a lightweight alternative to wood, and that will frame it, and then we'll put sheeting on the exterior of the building, and then put the roof system on there. The carpenters put the roof system on there. They a lot of times are putting the roofing material on the roof, and then once that's all done, we let the electricians and the other trades, heating and cooling and the plumbing, come in and do their work on the inside of the building. And then we turn around and carpenters are the ones that are putting the drywall up, and then letting the finishers finish the drywall and paint. And then we're turning around and we're putting all the trim and the cabinets and the shelving and window treatments. We do that all the way to the end. So essentially a carpenter could be the first one on the project and the last one to leave. So we cover a large area.
So if you're a carpenter, do you kind of specialize in one of those things? Like you're the concrete person or you're the trim person? Do you learn how to do all of it?
So we learn to do all of it through our apprenticeship. We have a 4-year apprenticeship that you go to school for 1 week every 3 months. And through that, we provide you training, safety training, OSHA classes, first aid, CPR, working with heights. So you're rigging and you're being tied off and everything. And then we go into concrete forms. We go into wood framing, metal framing, drywall, trim, door hardware, hooking up loads to cranes. We do that. welding. We have a lot of carpenters that do welding. A lot of people don't even realize it. And we have carpenters that do underwater welding on bridges and stuff like that, which a lot of people don't realize that you can do that. But we have guys that travel all over the US doing underwater welding. So it's a unique, there's another unique environment that a lot of people wouldn't think of carpentry, but we do a lot of work on locking dams and underwater.
Well, someone has to do that, and we just met the people who know the people who do that. So that's really cool. I hear about that all the time, like underwater welding. I'm like, is that a real thing? It is a real thing. So, well, you kind of answered my second question, but if you want to talk more about it, what kind of education or training do you need for this career? And maybe you can just explain what an apprenticeship is to our audience, since that's what you represent.
So myself personally, I never took a carpentry class in high school, which would have been a benefit. Now, knowing that I've been doing it for 20 years, I took electronics and auto class. I never thought that I would go into carpentry. And actually that first summer when I started, I didn't even know how to read a tape measure. I had no clue. So, but it's something that I wanted to learn, and I had to, and I enjoyed my job, and I turned around and learned that aspect. And then through the apprenticeship, like I was saying with the apprenticeship, I'm sitting in the building, in the apprenticeship building in Cedar Rapids. This is where our training center is. And we send students here 1 week every 3 months for 4 years. And then as they go through their training and they get their qualifications, they get pay raises throughout that too. So you're constantly getting pay raises as your skills build. But it just goes to show that if you are interested in the trades, take those classes in high school when those come available to you. Take the carpentry, the woodworking, they don't have much for electrical, but manufacturing. Take any of those classes that are available to you, because they're great opportunities. And regardless, when you own a house someday, you'll learn some things that you'll be able to do on your own when you're a homeowner. So great opportunity.
You just keep getting to my questions before I even ask them. So thanks for that, Derek. That was one of my questions. Are there any classes outside of kind of those industrial tech CTE classes, like maybe math, I'm thinking, with the tape measure? And how important is math in what you do?
So math is very important, geometry and the fractions and everything else. And I actually struggled with that in high school with geometry. I really struggled. And I had an industrial tech teacher that brought out a framing square that we use every day. And he was able to break it down, a squared, b squared, c squared, and teach me. He broke it down simple. And to this day, I run into that instructor and he laughs going, "Hey, who would ever thought that I taught you on a framing square?" And that's what biggest part of your career is using that every day. Math is very important. You don't have to be perfect, because I struggled with math, and they do have really good calculators out there to help you, but you just have to know the basics to get to that point. But you're constantly squaring, and you got to figure out your dimensions and get a building nice and square so that everything's plumb. And figuring out concrete, it involves math and volume. So that, and then science courses are important too, chemistry and stuff like that, because it does come back and help you in the field and later on in life.
Great to know. All right, so we're going to move on to our next question. So in the workplace, soft skills are how we interact with and get along with others. A few examples are working in teams, communication, time management. Why don't you tell us some of the soft skills that are really important in your field and that you're looking for when you're looking to hire some apprentices?
Soft skills are very, very important. And that is a lot of things, something that can get you a job or not get you a job. You got to be able to communicate with people. You got to be able to look at them. And if they're having an interview with you or whatever, you got to be able to present yourself. and have a good conversation and not be shy and timid, out in the field, working with coworkers, you got to be able to communicate with them. You can't, you got to be able to talk to them, because a lot of times you're working with a partner and you might be measuring something, or somebody might be cutting something for you. So you got to be able to communicate with them so that they understand what they're cutting, because you might be giving them numbers and they got to be able to put it on a piece of plywood or a piece of drywall on the other side. So they need to understand that. So communication is really good. Showing up on time and being there, being accountable. Being accountable is a huge soft skill that is a very good trait to have. Be early, be on time, and be there every day, because and that right there, if you can do that, that will keep you employed just about anywhere. You will not have any problem if you can simply show up every day. If you're sick, just communication on that, and then let the employer know that you are sick. But accountability and being there every day, because you are part of a team and they do rely on you. If you're only a 3 or 4 person crew and one person's gone, usually you're still going to produce what you were going to do with that 4th person. So if you're constantly not showing up or whatever, that makes the other people in your crew work harder. And sometimes they get frustrated with you, and you will hear about that. But accountability and showing up is a very important soft skill.
That will get you far. Thank you.
Yes.
For mentioning that. So we do want to say we're going to have some time at the end for questions. So please start thinking what questions you have and putting those in the chat. I have a few more questions for Derek, but we'd like to hear from all of you who are joining us today as well. So tell us what you really like about what you do.
I love the ever-changing environment. A lot of times with the construction project, you're only there for a short little while. I did mostly concrete, so I was there to lay out the foundation, put the foundation in, and then I was moving on to the next project. And I liked that it wasn't the same place all the time. Some of your larger projects, you could get on there and start at the very beginning and then just stay there to the end. But every day is different. There is some repetition, but it's always changing. There's always a new design, a new plan. There's challenges. That's one thing that carpenters are well known for, is that you come across a problem, you got to problem solve, and you overcome it, because you got to go. You got to move forward. You got to think about it, and you got to come up with a plan. So we are problem solvers constantly. I love, the spring of the year, when all of a sudden you get a long winter, and all of a sudden that sun starts coming out and it's cool in the morning, and then by the afternoon you're in a t-shirt. It's a different environment. You're not looking at 4 walls all the day long. And the project only lasts so long, so then you move on to the next one. And yeah, that's a lot of it. I enjoy being outside and working with my hands.
And you hit on another important soft skill, that problem solving. That's a top one that employers are typically looking for.
Absolutely.
So, is there anything you dislike about the career, or that students should be aware of if they're seriously considering going into this type of field?
So one thing I will mention, you are in all aspects of weather. So there could be cold days. We do pour concrete year round. Unless it's in the negatives, then we usually have the day off, and we're trying to move indoors somewhere. But we do pour concrete all year round, and also rain. Rain does affect you. Snow affects you. So sometimes you have rain days, just because if everything's outside, it's raining all day. But there are other days where there might be something that you have to have done. So you put on raincoats and you keep working to get what you got to get done for the day. So you do have some of those days, during the winter, it can get cold and snowy. So, but it is ever changing. It's never the same. And there is wind. You do deal with the wind and everything else. And then the heat, you have hot days too, but it's really a good career, and you can provide a good income for your family and a good lifestyle.
So if you like to be outside in all elements and enjoy working with your hands and problem solving, working with your team, sounds like it could be a great career choice.
Yes, and one thing that I just would like to add too is the sense of accomplishment. At the end of the day, you can see what you got done, and you know when you had a big day or if you had a subpar day because you ran into a lot of problems. That's difficult for me being in this position because I don't. A lot of it is talking to students and emails and phone calls, where you don't feel like you accomplish anything, where when you're out in the field at the end of the day you can really look and see what you did. And I love driving around town and showing my kids all the work I have done all over the place, and they kind of get annoyed by that, but it is a sense of pride. I've done some big projects around Dubuque, and it is something that will be there for a long time that I can say I was part of.
That's a neat feeling to be like, I know I had something to do with that, and it's going to be there for many, many years. Yeah. So we have some fantastic questions from our audience.
Perfect.
And there is one more question on my list, but you covered it. So I'm hoping for those who are doing the worksheet, they caught all the different career opportunities, because we kind of talked about that at the beginning. So let's dive into some of the questions we have from our students. And one of the questions is, do you get paid a salary or hourly, and what are your benefits?
So we are paid hourly. So every hour we work, we get paid. We get paid overtime after 40 hours. We do have full benefits. We have insurance, dental, eye, and then we have a couple retirements too that is completely paid by our employer. It's part of our total package of what we get per hour. So essentially, we are making a lot more as a whole package than what you see that on the income that you're bringing home, because the employer is paying everything on our behalf.
That's an important thing to know when you're looking at careers and total what an employer is offering you when they're making you an employment offer. How about, do you get the chance to be creative?
Carpentry, there's a lot of creativity in carpentry, and that's what helps get things done too, because you got to have an open mind, because just because it's the way we have always done it doesn't mean that it is the fastest way. So there is always somebody that has a good idea, and if you're open to, if the foreman or the supervisor is open to listening to them, you can discover that there is a faster way, and that person, that vital person on your crew, could help make things go smoother. So creativity in some of the things that are drawn in plans, you got to have a little bit of creativity to make it look to how the architect designed it. So there is a lot of creativity involved with it, and being able to visualize and see what your next move is going to be.
That's a fantastic question. Thank you for that question.
Yes, it is.
Do you have to worry about job stability, Derek? Is another question we have.
So construction is one of those things that does have its highs and it does have its lows, just with the economy. And staying locally in like the Dubuque area, the Dubuque area can only sustain so much construction unless you're doing houses and stuff. But even houses have their ups and downs where they're going. So you do have that chance of being laid off, which you'd collect unemployment. But one thing with the Carpenters Union, you go on an out of work list, and you can go work for other employers and make the same as what you were, no matter where you're at in your apprenticeship, or if you're a journey person, you are guaranteed the benefits of the local area. So you can go anywhere in the US and you get that union scale in that area. So there are times where people do travel, and we do a lot of work in Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, which isn't that bad of a deal. We do work in southern Wisconsin as well, so there is some traveling involved, but we stay fairly steady in Dubuque as well.
But did I hear that correctly? You could train in Cedar Rapids, and say you wanted to move to some other state, you would still have that opportunity.
That is correct. That is correct.
That's a great thing to know. So tell us, is this a high outlook career? Are you needing employees currently? And what's the forecast for that?
So yes, I have been having a hard time manning jobs in Dubuque locally. For the contractors, there is demand, and we are looking at, so the regional council that I'm part of is, we cover 6 states: Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, Wisconsin, North Dakota, South Dakota. And we have 27,000 members between those 6 states. And over the next 5 years, we're looking to lose about 8,000 of them to retirement. So that's a pretty good chunk. And I know every day, just in the Dubuque area, I have a lot of guys that are retiring next year. So that in turn is going to put these employers into a void. If all of a sudden they lose 2 to 3 to retiree of 200 employees, doesn't seem like it's that much, but it is. So yes, there is that to fill, and then the opportunity to go through your apprenticeship and become a crew leader is very wide open too, because you gotta, if you have the right traits, you can move up the line to make more money and to have a leadership position. So there's room to move up very quickly, as long as you have the good soft skills and the good ability and willingness.
Awesome. That was a question I had, if there's ability to move up. So we're actually at 9:20, but I'm going to ask this final question that we have, because these, we can combine these. Okay, so tell us about, if you've never been exposed to carpentry, maybe you took some classes in high school though. Do you train people on what they need to know? And then how much debt does somebody acquire learning this trade for if they work with you?
Great question that I kind of missed. So you do not have to have any experience. Like myself, I had 0 going in there, and the company that I started with at 19, I actually started running a crew for them as an apprentice, which is very rare, but they were in a position, a new company, and they needed the manpower, and I showed the desire. So that had propelled me everywhere, and basically everywhere I went and ran a crew for any contractor that I worked for. And that kind of leads into a position like this because of your ability to lead. But with the debt for the training, our apprenticeship is free. Every man hour, every hour that our carpenters work, we pay in to provide our own training. So the training is free as you go through your apprenticeship, and then there is future upgrade training offered to all of our members throughout the year that is free to them to get the certifications.
Okay, you all set the bar really high for questions for this afternoon's group. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for joining us. If you think of more questions, I'm sure we could pass those along to Derek and he'd be happy to answer them. But we do appreciate you all joining us today. We hope you'll join us again next month when we cover a different career, and have an awesome Friday.
Thank you, everyone.